So in this video we're going to be working in the key of E minor. So the notes of the E minor chord are E, G and B. The lowest E minor chord we can play is the open E minor shape. So working in the CAGED context, we've got the next shape we're going to be looking for is going to be a D shape, and in this case a D minor shape. So this is going to be something that we're going to do on every chord when we're turning them from the major into the minor. Now, if we look at in the major chords video, we worked in the key of E major towards the end. We played an E major chord at the 2nd fret, so the root note, first finger on the D string. In this case, at the 2nd fret because we're playing an E. And we use exactly this position to play an E major chord. Now, we're just going to change one note here. So this G sharp is going to come down to a G. So we're dropping it from a major third to a minor third, and we get E minor. So it's exactly the same process as you would do in the open position for a D shape. If you played a D minor, we drop the F sharp down to an F, and we get D minor. So again, exactly the same thing. So there we are. So there's our CAGED shape based on a D minor. Now for the arpeggio, we're going to outline the notes of the chord that we've just played. Again, notes E, G and B. We're going to play our minor third here. So we're starting first finger on the 2nd string, on the 3rd string, sorry, on the D, the 2nd fret. So the E, a G at the 5th fret of the D string, B, 4th fret of the G string, back to E, 5th fret of the B string, and then we've got our G, 3rd fret of the high E string. So the arpeggio would sound like this. Now if we wanted to go down lower, we could also go to a B here, 2nd fret of the A string, and then down to G at the 3rd fret of the low E. So you could practice this arpeggio first going from the lowest root note up, coming back down, going below the root note and back up, so like this. Or you could practice going from the lowest key note. So in this case we're in E minor. We've got our G here, which would be our minor third. So we could go. So that's the D minor shape. So on to C minor then, or our C shape. Now, this is one of the chords that is impossible to play all of the notes of. So what we end up doing is we end up playing portions of it. Now, if we were, again, so this is a C position, as in with the major key, we have a root note under the little finger. But the minor chord tends to be played like this. So it's a portion of the C minor chord. Now, if I was able to reach that note, which would be the E, then I would be able to play the whole thing. Okay, but we can't. So we tend to play it like this. So this is actually it has a G in the root here. So I've got my ring finger on the G at the 5th fret of the D string. My middle finger is on the B at the 4th fret of the G string. My little finger, 5th fret of the B string, and first finger on the 3rd fret of the high E. Okay, so that would actually be a first inversion, E minor. Okay, it's a very common way to play a minor chord. I use this one quite a lot. Now, fortunately, the arpeggio falls lovely under the fingers. So, starting off with our little finger, if we're on our root note here, which is the E, at the 7th fret of the A string, and of course we're looking for the notes E, G and B. So we've got E over onto the D string at the 5th fret, so we have our G, B at the 4th fret of the G string, 1st finger, E, 2nd finger on the 5th fret of the B string, 1st finger at the 3rd fret of the high E, and then we can also do a B there with our little finger, so we get. And of course, if we wanted to go, that's covering all of the notes there in that position, we could go down to the B, which is the 7th fret on the low E string, and back to our E. So if we wanted to launch from the lowest key note in that position, that would actually be the B here. So. Yes. So onwards to the A shape. Now, in the case of E minor, we're going to find that at the 7th fret, so 1st finger on the 7th fret. Now hopefully you'll just recognise that as your very common A root minor bar chord. In this case, we're playing E minor. So that's a nice easy one to play. Now let's look at the arpeggio. Now the arpeggio is just outlining the notes that we're pressing down here, with the addition of the minor third. So the arpeggio will go like this. So we have our 1st finger on the E at the 7th fret, our root note, G, 10th fret of the A string, B, 9th fret of the D string. We're back to E again at the 9th fret of the G string. We have our G at the 8th fret of the B string. And then we have our B, which is at the 7th fret of the high E. So. We could also add our 5th at the bottom here as well if we wanted. So we could start from that note. We've got a B here, so we could go. Okay, so onward to the G position. So as with the major CAGED position, our little finger is on the root note, which is found on the low E. So in the case of E minor, we're going to be at the 12th fret. And the G minor form is a form that we can't play all of the notes of the chord in, so we tend to play it like this. So, get my middle finger out of the way so you can see clearly. So I've got my 1st finger on the 9th fret of the D string, and then I have my ring finger barring across the 12th fret on the G, B and E strings. So effectively what we have is a second inversion E minor. There's our root note at the 12th fret there. Okay, so that's how we will play our chord in the G minor CAGED position there. The arpeggio sounds like this. So what we have is a little finger on the root note on the E, 12th fret. Over onto the G at the 10th fret of the A string, B, the 9th fret of the D string, back to E at 9th fret of the G string, G, 12th fret of the G string, B, 12th fret of the B string, and E, 12th fret of the high E string. So there we are, that's G minor position. And finally we're back to E. So we started off with our open E minor chord. So here we are at the 12th fret. We've got our root note on the 1st finger. We're basically playing try and get my middle finger out of the way again. A basic E minor or E shaped or E minor shaped, sorry, bar chord with a root on the E string here. Okay. Now the arpeggio Again, outlines the notes of the chords that we're of the fingers that we're pressing down here, with the addition of the minor third at the beginning. So we have so first finger on the E at the 12th fret, G 15th fret of the low E string, B 14th fret of the A string. We're back to E again at the 14th fret of the D string, B 12th fret of the G 12th fret of the G string, B 12th fret of the B string, and E 12th fret of the E string. Now we could actually add a G with a little finger at the end if we wanted as well. So there we are, that's our E minor position. Okay, so let's just run through those a little faster this time so you can hear them side by side and get a sense of how they work up the neck. So is our open E chord. The first CAGED shape that we come to is the D. So we have our first finger on the root note, so 2nd fret of the D string, in the case of E minor. So there's our CAGED shape. And the arpeggio goes like this. Next up we have our C shape. Now of course we can't play all the notes in this, so we're playing it like this instead, which in this case would be a first inversion E minor chord. For the arpeggio, the root note is on the A string, the 7th fret, in this case E minor, and sounds like this. Next up we have A minor, the A minor shape. So first finger on the root note on the A string, in this case E minor at the 7th fret. Basic A minor shape bar chord. The arpeggio goes like this. Next up we have the G minor shape, or G shape. So again we can't play this one all the notes, but so we would do it like that. I'll get my little finger out of the way again, there we are. So there's our root note there, which would be on the 12th fret of the low E string. The arpeggio starts on the little finger on the low E string, so in this case 12th fret because we're in E. And the arpeggio sounds like this. And finally we're in our E position, so E minor, typical minor bar chord shape, and the root note first finger on the low E string, and the arpeggio sounds like this.